Welcome to the Resilient Retail Game Plan, a podcast for anyone wanting to start, grow or scale a profitable creative product business with me, Catherine Eardley. The Resilient Retail Game Plan is a podcast dedicated to one thing, breaking down the concepts and tools that I've gathered from 20 years in the retail industry and showing you how you can use them in your business. This is the real nuts and bolts of running a successful product business, broken down in an easy, accessible way. This is not a podcast about learning how to make your business look good. It's the tools and techniques that will make you and your business feel good. Confidently plan, launch and manage your products, and feel in control of your sales numbers and cash flow to help you build a resilient retail business. Welcome, it's episode 62 of the Resilient Retail Game Plan. My name's Catherine Eardley and I'm the founder of the Resilient Retail Club, as well as your host for today's episode. In this episode, we talk about a really interesting topic, which is connected packaging. I am joined to discuss this topic with Cameron Worth, who's the founder of SharpEnd, an agency that specialises in the Internet of Things, also known as IoT, and specifically in connected packaging. I wanted to talk to Cameron because I think it's really important for small businesses to understand how the retail industry is changing, as well as some of the technologies that are coming into play. And also connected packaging is really interesting because it doesn't necessarily have to be a huge capital outlay for businesses. It could be something that you could even consider incorporating into your own business. So I wanted to have him on today to talk about this new trend. And just to preface before we get started, he talks about a couple of different technologies here. You've probably heard of them, but just in case you haven't, one of the ones that he talks about is QR codes, or quick response codes. You've probably come across these loads. They're the little black and white codes that you probably had to scan if you were checking into a venue after COVID. So this technology has been around for a while, but it's really taken off. The second thing he talks about is NFC, which is near field communication. It's the ability to pay for things on your phone. That's the technology that uses NFC. So if you hear him use those terms, NFC or QR, that is what he's talking about. So let's dive in. Thank you so much for joining me. Do you want to just kick us off by introducing yourself and SharpEnd?
Yeah, my name is Cameron. I'm the founder and sometimes accused of being the CEO of SharpEnd, which is it was started as the world's first Internet of Things agency in 2015. And since then, we've gone on to kind of build out probably the industry's most active IoT platform for connected packaging alongside our full service agency. And we're based in London.
Fantastic. And do you want to just kick us off for anybody listening who's not really kind of come across the whole concept of connected packaging, or maybe just sort of vaguely aware of it? Can you tell us a little bit more about, how would you define it?
Connected packaging, it started from kind of Internet of Things chat, right? So people were talking about connected everything. And there was a time in life where people were making like connected cat collars and fridges and all this kind of weird stuff.
Yeah.
And then we kind of approached it and said, well, if everything around us is becoming connected, why can't you connect all of the stuff that's in the world, right? The bottles of Absolute or the cans of Pepsi or the Louis Vuitton handbags, and why can't all of these things be connected?
Yeah.
So what connected packaging basically is the idea of putting something on a thing to deliver something through a mobile phone. So QR codes, NFC tags, augmented reality, short URLs, anything that allows you to bridge someone to an online environment via the product is generally considered connected packaging. There's a bunch of other kind of bit more nerdy stuff around active packaging, which is like, conductive inks and stuff like that. But that's a bit, that's not for today's call.
Okay. It's slightly sort of simmered down a bit, because at one point it was like everything was going to replenish itself, and, the washing machine was going to phone home if it realized it was running low or stuff and things like that. And it's quite interesting to see with how it's evolving over time. And I think connected packaging, from my point of view, from what I'm sort of seeing, is the customer just seems a bit more engaged with it. Does that sound right?
There's two main drivers, I think, that make connected packaging sensible. Yeah, because IoT in and of itself isn't particularly sensible. Some of the stuff that you saw a few years ago was just horrific. You know what I mean? And everything was just becoming connected. I remember KFC did a a chicken bucket that was like Bluetooth enabled, so you could take a picture of you and the family. You know, all this kind of nonsense that kind of exists when there's new technologies.
Yeah.
I think that there's two main drivers. The first one is that brands don't know who buys and uses their products. They kind of never have, really. If you're Unilever, your customer used to be Tesco. It didn't used to be Catherine or Cameron. So what connected packaging allows you to do is kind of go direct to consumer through the product and understand more about them by delivering experiences and blah, blah, blah. And the second thing that makes it very sensible, in my opinion, is that you pull information from the product. You do not get pushed information via the product. Right. So if there is a code or a tag or a marker on the product, as Cameron, I have agency and kind of autonomy to decide if I want to get that thing or not. So then it comes back to the brand that says, is the thing that you're delivering through the product useful or meaningful or interesting or entertaining? Because if it isn't, then people won't do it, and they have the choice to not be able to do it. So that kind of, I think, is why connected packaging stands out as something which is a little bit different, because it's not just beaming advertising through someone's smartphone and, you know, these weird interactions that people have when you're talking about something and then suddenly you see an Instagram ad for the thing you were talking about and all that kind of weird stuff. So.
Well, like the whole thing about push notifications, if you're walking through a shopping centre and you start getting targeted offers, which just
do
always...
Do you remember beacons?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. We're talking about things that died off. Beacons are probably quite hard.
Yeah, because nobody really wants that, right? You know, when you're just minding your own business, walking around the shopping centre, you don't really want things being pinged to you. Whereas this... So, and I think you touched on an interesting point there, and it's kind of what I wanted to dig into a little bit more about the packaging is, with any sort of technology or any sort of development in the industry, there's always the two questions. What benefit does it serve the brand? And then what's the benefit for the customer? So in terms of the brand then, so we start off with, you find out more about who the customers are, right? Presumably, because then you can start building a picture of who's interacting with the packaging.
Yeah.
Does it help with customer loyalty? Does it help with retention, repeat purchase? Like, sort of, what kind of other halo effects, I guess, you get around connected packaging?
So yeah, I guess there's probably three ways to answer that. And the first one is, when I'm trying to impress people and sound very like intellectual, I'll say to people that I feel like what we've done with connected packaging is like create a new canvas.
Right.
Because it allows brands to have this entirely new channel that they never had before, which is your product is now an owned digital media platform, which is a totally kind of cool way of thinking about it. The second thing is kind of like, what does it represent? And I think that if you look at kind of some of the metrics that we get on the platform, that between, you know, engagement rates of QR campaigns are around 20% now. NFC is about 15%. We know that between 30 and 45% of people who engage with the product give the brand their first party data with opt-in. We know that on average, the same person engages with the same product 2.7 times. So kind of all of these new insights to give them to a brand. We know that people are spending around twice as long as on the connected product experience that they do on the .com. And that's because it's tailored to that kind of consideration or purchase moment. And then the third thing about it, what does it actually do? You know, there's kind of the use case pillars around, you know, loyalty, provenance, accessibility, sustainability, blah, 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 blah. But it really does depend on the kind of the use case, the brand, the time of year, the campaign. You know, the idea is that if you have like a QR code on a product, that QR code experience can change depending on location, time of day, weather, which campaign's currently running. So you've got this kind of fully flexible canvas now where you can constantly change it. So it doesn't need to do one set thing anymore, which I think is probably the most interesting part of it. You know, when we're doing like, when we're speaking to people about content strategies for connected packaging, the ability is you can now do like a 12-month plan around your product as a media platform, because ultimately it behaves the same as any other media channel, that you can kind of upweight and do evergreen and all those kind of words that intelligent people use when they're talking about content.
So that's fascinating. And I suppose what's also so interesting, there's a couple of things sprung to mind. First off is, ironically, has the pandemic actually helped with the whole QR code adoption? Because that's something else that almost like had its moment and looked like it might sort of like, everyone talked about QR codes sort of 2-3 years ago, and then, but not that many people were adopting them. But now actually we're all really well trained in QR codes, with restaurants, with menus, with checking in to venues and this kind of thing. So do you actually think that the QR code piece has in a way been helped by that?
I mean, yeah, it's without question. I try not to spend too long talking about the positive impact that COVID's had on SharpEnd, but it's had a really positive impact on the business. The way that we kind of generally summarize it is we say that the business has tripled.
Right.
That's from a revenue, customer, usage, adoption, rollout. You know, all of the things have gone 300x.
Yeah.
Or 3x. I'm not sure which one was the right one to use. I'm trying to sound intelligent now. Completely on myself in. Anyway, yeah, the kind of revenues have tripled, the team size has tripled, the amount of customers on the platform has tripled. So all of these different things. The pandemic has definitely kind of accelerated everything related to connected packaging, QR code adoption, mainstream awareness, brand engagement, interactions, etc. I guess from SharpEnd's perspective, because obviously QR codes are something that we do a lot of for obvious reasons. We've always had a strategy to kind of develop really pioneering stories for the market. You know, how does it look when Malibu rolls out connected bottles, or you know, how does it look when Levi's rolls out NFC enabled jeans for the first time ever? So, but the thing that before COVID, I was kind of wondering, I was like, what is the thing? Because we seem to have worked with like pretty much every sexy brand in the world, and it still hasn't had that spark yet where the kind of the Asian adoption and engagement with these kind of technologies. I went into lockdown and I was spending a lot of time pondering that. I was like, well, I'm wondering if we're running out of ideas about how to really get mainstream adoption in like North America and the UK and stuff. Then I came out of lockdown and there were QR codes fucking everywhere. Like, you know, it was like hairdresser window. People were coming up to me asking me if they could scan a QR code on my table in a bar. Like, it was really, really weird, you know, because I was like, what is the thing that I like? Because, you know, SharpEnd's really been like trying to drive this whole industry forward for 7 years. And I was like, I thought I'd run out of ideas. And I think I had run out of ideas. And I think I was trying to think what my plan B could be or something. And yeah, then I came out of my house and there were just QR codes everywhere. I was like, game on. So, then every brand wants to put them on their products, and every brand now says, well, actually, it's about the experience. I wonder if there's an IoT agency we can work with. I was like, I've got that. And they were like, oh, okay, but what's the data opportunity? We need a platform. I was like, I've got that. So, you know what I mean? The whole model that SharpEnd had kind of built towards was finally realized. And the only thing it took was a global pandemic. So,
or, you know, even if it's like something as small as just not having a QR reader on your phone. I mean, you know, like.
But even still, even like, because I know that you've been in the industry for a while too, but like, I remember those announcements, you know, when you used to go onto like the Apple announcements, and then you were desperately hoping that they were going to put an NFC reader in their phones, and you were like, why have you not put an NFC reader in your phone? Samsung's doing it already. And then then it was like Samsung's now doing the QR code through the camera, and then Apple does, and all of these things were happening, but there was a genuine lack of like use cases. They were kind of building these technologies into the devices, but there wasn't that many things to do with them.
Right.
Because, you know, it's all well and good having NFC in your phone, but if there's nothing to engage with, then it's kind of meaningless, and then it just becomes a payment solution. The same with QR codes. Having the QR code in the camera is fine, but unless you're scanning QR codes actively, you don't care.
Yeah.
Wonder if people still do, but yeah, I mean, like I said, everything's kind of tripled sort of during COVID. So engagement rates are kind of 3 times higher with products, and we've just delivered a report to the market, which is called the Connected Experience Report, which is kind of a fairly comprehensive piece of independent research, which if you can capitalize words while speaking, that was what I did to the word independent, because there's so many like bullshit research reports in my industry of like nonsense data. So anyway, so we engaged like an independent research company called Red Sea. We all like kind of audited people's kind of awareness and engagement with all these different technologies. What is it that people actually want from connected products?
Yeah.
How do you feel about data and privacy? So literally going all the way around the houses, trying to work out what it is that people want from connected packaging. So kind of that's another thing that kind of there's some data in there, which can forgive me for not being able to recall it to hand, but the idea that there's a massive kind of spike in awareness of kind of QR and NFC and stuff since COVID. So
And I think what's so interesting about the technology is that ultimately, I mean, okay, so NFC is slightly different, but QR codes, that is something that's entirely accessible to a lot of businesses. So I work predominantly with smaller and startup brands. And, it's reasonably straightforward to get yourself a QR code and to be able to think about using this type of technology. It's not like something that's totally sort of out there. So I guess I'd love to hear from you then, based on what you found with the report, then if you were a brand looking to use or looking to even just think about what this kind of technology could do for you and for your business, what are some of the things that people are looking for when it comes to using connected packaging?
So this is one of those amazing moments when you get to quote yourself.
Okay.
And building connected brands is a creative challenge and not a technical one, right? So to your point, putting a QR code on something isn't difficult, right? There's other bits around it, platforms, data privacy, and all that kind of stuff. The thing that people genuinely want from products is to heighten their enjoyment in the context of use, right? Which is that if I've been chugging on this during our chat.
It's coconut water, just for the podcast listeners.
I finished the tequila this morning. So, if there's something on this product that allows me to engage with it, and I choose to engage with it, that means I'm either thinking about using this product or I'm actively using it, right? Because I'm no more than 5 centimeters from this product now, and it's in my hand. So that's the point that you design experiences from. How do you heighten the enjoyment in the context of use?
Yeah.
And there's loads of different ways you can go around that, right? But ultimately, it's really designing for that moment, and that's what helps brands to stand out with kind of decent connected experiences. A QR code, when used terribly, links you to a social media page or to just a kind of a .com homepage. You know what I mean? It's like sometimes it's kind of the step one in a kind of a phased approach to connected experiences, but ultimately the opportunity is lost when you don't design something specifically for that product interaction, because like I said, you're either thinking about using it or actively using it, and you're no more than 5 centimeters away from it, and you've got your phone in your hand. So these are the great ingredients to design something which is quite special. Do you know what I mean?
You talked about some of the pillars earlier. So things like, it could be, since we're talking about the coconut water, it could be that you scan something and it tells you the story of how coconut water is made.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just actually going to pretend that I've got the report open, and I'm just going to open it now. If you look at the kind of some of the key data, 71% of people in the UK want to find out more about the products they buy through connected packaging. 69% would scan a product to discover more about the brand. Yeah, so like 85% of UK consumers would like money off vouchers or exclusive discounts through connected products.
Right.
Then 70% want recipe ideas for food products. 77% want customer support through the products. 75% of UK consumers want to learn how to dispose of or recycle their product through connected packaging. So all of these things are like massive opportunity areas for brands. Do you know what I mean? It's like, and all the data's there now. Like, this is the first time that someone's actually asked people, because I think within this space, there's so much momentum around it anyway, that people haven't really needed to have any like actual data about what people want. They've just kind of been like, oh yeah, we should put QR codes on things, and if we do this, then it will work. But actually, we sort of really, we spend quite a lot of money on it as well, to be honest with you. But it's really interesting when you actually sit down and you say to people, what do you actually, if you can interact with this thing, what do you actually want from it? And it kind of solves a lot of the creative pondering that you do sometimes in your office, because actually you can just ask people
what do they want. Yeah, it's so true. And it's so true. Retail technology in general, I've been writing and talking to people about retail technology for 3 years now, and living and breathing the retail industry for the last 21 years. And it's so often they come up with this technology and they're just like, we could, customers could do this, that, and the other. And you think, yeah, but actually, if you're just stopping them, what's interesting about connected packaging is, number one, we're talking about post-purchase, because so much retail technology focuses around, when they're looking in the shop, we could show them this, that, and the other, which, also introduces that kind of friction where actually what you want them to do is buy. And then the second thing is like, what does the customer actually want? It's like the whole magic mirror thing about, you can try on stuff, like look in a mirror and try on different outfits. But then some of them will like beam an image of you trying things on, like halfway across the store, and you think, actually, how many customers actually want like a big image of them wearing something not very flattering being across the store,
looking like a pinhead as well, because the rendering's not working very well. You know what I mean?
But no, I think it's so true. It's like everything has to come back to what's right for the customer.
Yeah.
So, and I suppose as well, it's that relationship building, isn't it? Because if people like stories, and they like knowing things, and they like that information about who picked the coconut water, and also where sustainability and values and ethics are so important to many consumers as well, that you can tell that story and give them that sort of background in a way that you can't.
We did one of those really kind of lofty summary kind of slides in the research report, and it basically comes down to 5 things that we think, which is make connected packaging useful, shoppable, beneficial, transparent, and inclusive. And then there's kind of different branches within those kind of those different pillars. But ultimately, I think it's also about I think about things quite simply, and it's either make it interesting or useful or entertaining. And just choose which one, or choose all of them. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to get 6 agencies in a room, workshopping what this kind of new standalone opportunity is, because actually it works best when it's as part of the ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
So really, I think when connected packaging works best when it sits as part of the overall brand ecosystem. But for kind of small to medium businesses, sometimes that ecosystem doesn't exist, and then the product represents the most amazing opportunity ever to talk directly to every single one of your customers, because the kind of the business case for investing in connected packaging from a lot of the big brands is around data.
Mm-hmm.
So can I acquire customer data through the products in a way that saves me money on buying it somewhere else? The second one is kind of insights, consumer insights. Can I learn more about my customers and how they feel about my products? And the third one's loyalty. It is very well established that the kind of loyal customer is worth more than kind of acquiring new customers. Do you know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah,
so if you can build brands post-purchase using connected packaging, then you're onto a winner, because you just need to basically just make sure that people keep buying your products. And the way you do that is through intelligent service design driven from the product itself. So
fantastic. So there you go. In a nutshell, that's why you should be at least aware of it. I think it's just so important for small businesses, medium-sized businesses, to just think about these things and not see them as happening as completely separate to what they're doing, or only for the bigger brands. I think it's an important consideration. How can you use your product when it's in your customer's hands to find out more about your customer and to continue to grow that relationship? So
your product will always be your biggest owned media platform.
Wow, I love that. There you go. Maybe I'll quote you to you sometime.
Right, fine. Get it tattooed in Latin on your neck or something, and I'll see you at the studio.
Well, thank you, Cameron, so much for your time. Do you want to just tell us a little bit more about where we can find out more about SharpEnd?
We've just launched our new website at sharpend.com, sharpend.com. And I'm also on LinkedIn, Cameron Worth, if you wanted to add me and ask me any questions.
Fantastic. And we'll pop those links in the show notes as well.
All right. Cool.
Thank you so much again to Cameron for joining me. I hope you really enjoyed that episode. It gave you some food for thought. If you want to find out more about the Resilient Retail Club, then don't forget to check out resilientretailclub.com. And if you use the code 10podcast, that's 10podcast, you can get £10 off your first month. In the club, we are gearing up for the fourth quarter. There are lots of different things going on to support members during this Christmas period. We have weekly check-ins. We have a week-by-week planner for people to use to help them get focused and ready for Christmas, as well as workshops aimed at helping you stay visible and sell during this Christmas period. So if you are thinking of joining, now is a great time. Head over to resilientretailclub.com and sign up. If you have a minute to rate and review the podcast, I always appreciate it so very much. And of course, if you hit subscribe, you'll be the first to know about each new episode. See you next week. If you've enjoyed this week's episode, then I invite you to check out resilientretailclub.com. The Resilient Retail Club is the membership for anyone wanting to start, grow, or scale a profitable product business. No more trawling Google trying to find the answers to your questions, or wading through general business advice that speaks mainly to service-based businesses. Whether you're still at the idea stage or you've been going for a while but want to get more focused and organised when it comes to your business, the Resilient Retail Club is the place for you. With a library of courses tailored to creative product businesses, several live sessions a month, and a supportive and active community, the Resilient Retail Club is the perfect membership to help you hit your goals faster. Check it out at resilientretailclub.com.